Hi, my name is Chandra and we are making an ice cream cake and it is pumpkin flavored. There's a pumpkin brownie cake and there is a pumpkin vegan ice cream. Mostly it's cashews, but there is some almond milk in there as well. And it's an egg-free ice cream, so that pretty much takes care of it being vegan. So far I have my cashews in here, my cup of almond milk, my 3 tablespoons of avocado oil, and I'm about to add some pumpkin puree. I'll need some of this pumpkin for the cake and some for the ice cream. I did thicken this up a little bit this morning. This is homemade pumpkin from last year's garden, from our jack-o'-lanterns, because we didn't plant any pie pumpkins. Quarter cup maple syrup, which is the same as 4 tablespoons. And a 1/3 cup sugar. I'm using coconut sugar. This is a very easy ice cream because it just, everything in the blender, blend it up and it's done. One and a half teaspoons, vanilla. Thank you.
Oh. Again.
1/4 teaspoon salt. One and a half teaspoons pumpkin spice. And 3/4 of a teaspoon cinnamon. Okay, now the exciting part. And then this is pretty much done until it chills down a little bit. That pumpkin was still warm, so I want to cool this. The blender has been well used this morning. I'm gonna blend this really well because I want those cashews to be completely creamy. So at least 2 minutes, maybe 3 or 4. So I'll see you in a little bit. All right, I'd say that was 4 minutes. And we have it's steaming. Another reason to chill it first. The blender really warms it up. So it's nice and creamy. I'm gonna put this into a covered container and refrigerate it. I might not even make this until tomorrow, but it will be ready for me. There we go. Here we are again. It's time to spin the ice cream. This is the next day. So it has been chilling in the refrigerator overnight and it's nap time now. It's into the afternoon. So it is very nice and cooled and ready to churn. So I will get this going, and while it is churning, it'll probably take about 20 minutes. I've got the ingredients for the pumpkin brownie cake that will go in between the layers of the ice cream. That is beautifully thick. Already so thick that it is done. Look at that. Okay, so now I just had rinsed this out and stuck it in the freezer to get it kind of colder. Now we'll get this in here and back into the freezer. Delicate balance in there. I need to preheat the oven to 350. I need my favorite bowl. To my bowl, I need to add all of my wet ingredients. So, 1 cup pumpkin puree. Ooh, this might be just right. Just a little extra. I've got a use for this, so even just that little bit on the safe. I know I will need 2/3 of a cup of my oat flour. That's extra. Okay, so then I need 2/3 of a cup also of maple syrup. Oh, another trip to the basement is ahead of us, I think. Yes. As excessive as it can sometimes feel, it always makes sense if you can have the space to store it to buy big. It is just so much cheaper. Half a cup almond butter. You could use peanut butter too. I would usually use peanut butter because it is so much cheaper than almond butter. But I accidentally bought this almond butter, so it wasn't very expensive because it's sweetened. And I don't like to give sweetened almond butter to my kids. I mean, in general, I don't like to buy stuff with sugar. But both my kids like almond butter a lot. And I don't want to give them this one and suddenly have them not like the regular unsweetened almond butter anymore. So I'm particularly careful not to get, not that it's because otherwise I wouldn't mind if they just had like one, the oven's ready. If they had 1 round of an almond butter that was sweetened, I would feel okay about that. But the possibility of ruining like unsweetened almond butter forever is not worth it. So I've been using this for myself, but here's the perfect use for it. Putting it in something that's already sweet. One teaspoon vanilla. Ooh. 1.5 tablespoons of oil. I'm using avocado oil. We want to mix all this together. Half a pick up cacao or cocoa powder. Quarter teaspoon salt. 1 teaspoon baking powder. I make my own baking powder. And I put the recipe right in front so I don't have to keep looking it up. It's 1 part baking soda and 2 parts cream of tartar. You can put arrowroot starch into it or cornstarch, which usually baking powder has cornstarch, which is why I don't buy it, because I have an issue with corn. But that's just to keep it from clumping, which, I mean, as you can see, maybe that'd be useful for me to do that, but I don't bother. This, now it smells a lot like chocolate, which smells good too, but when this was just the nut butter and the pumpkin, maple syrup, oh, it smelled so good. Now I'm remembering why I liked this so much the last time I made it. Maybe sifting the cocoa powder would be a good idea. I don't love a lot of extra steps. I just deal with imperfections. Oat flour. That's 2/3 of a cup. I just ground that up in my blender from oats. I think this should be a little thicker, so I'm gonna add a little bit more. My oat flour is not as fine. That could be it. My pumpkin puree is looser. That could be it. Regardless, I do want this to be a little thicker. You know, I might just use all of that oat flour because I don't know, what am I going to do with that? Yeah. And since I added so much more flour, I'm going to do another pinch of salt. Can you really go wrong with salt and chocolate, right? Okay, nice. Now that's all the flour I have, so we'll call it good. This is a perfect pan to bake these brownies in because I want to make an ice cream cake with several layers in a loaf pan. So this will fit pretty perfectly cut in half. We'll have 2 layers of cake in a loaf pan. And I want to line this with parchment. Just a tiny bit of oil to help the parchment paper stick. Are ready for the next installment of ice cream cake. I have my pan and my ice cream and my brownie, which this has all been in the freezer, ice cream of course, but I stuck this in the freezer too because I didn't think I was going to get to it right away, and I didn't. It's a couple days later. So I just want to soften it a little bit, just to make it easier to cut, which it has. And this will be a little sturdier for moving around into the pan. And I think should fit. You know what? I think I actually used this last time because, yeah, it's perfect. So forget about that one. I'll use this one. Just have to. I'm also making some ricotta cheese, and I really don't want it to burn on the bottom or boil over. Okay, so. I'm going to line this to make it very easy to get out after it's frozen. Now, I only have 2 layers of cake, so I'm gonna do ice cream cake, and top it off with ice cream. Looks so good. I wonder if this is soft enough. Oh, okay. We'll be back in a little bit. This needs to soften more. This had a few hours in the freezer, and the ice cream wasn't very soft, but it could have used more time freezing back up again. You'll see when I cut it, it kind of collapses a little, and since this night, when it's been colder, it cuts very easily with a hot knife, and it keeps its shape, and it's been delicious. I just had a piece tonight.